Hi all, Tony here. US equity markets closed higher on Friday, driven by excitement around SpaceX blockbuster IPO and reports suggesting the US and Iran were closing in on a memorandum of understanding. Now, the stage is set for those gains to extend in the early part of this week as reports surfaced early this morning that the terms of the MOU have officially been agreed upon. In response, US equity futures have soared, while WTI crude oil has fallen back towards $80 per barrel. Given the uncertainties surrounding the next 60 days of negotiations, particularly around those complex nuclear issues, there does appear to be limits as to how much further crude oil can fall from here. On top of that, importing nations will undoubtedly use the reopening of the strait to replenish depleted stockpiles and refill their SPRs. And we already know that markets had to a large degree priced in a deal ahead of this morning's announcement, which does mean we could well see some near-term profit taking across markets once this initial euphoria subsides. Let's take a look at the charts of the NASDAQ and Dow Jones to see how they look at the start of this new week. Okay, so looking at the NASDAQ to start with, we can see the 35% rally which unfolded from the March lows in just over 9 weeks. And the way that this rally really accelerated into late May was behind our warnings and also by the RSI bearish divergence that we highlighted that a pullback was potentially looming. So in that context, this 8.5% pullback, which we saw last week, isn't really a surprise. Now, what you can see here is I've highlighted a band of support coming in from these lows in May, and then that low we spiked down on the 9th of June. And the view has been that while the NASDAQ can hold above this support, 28,500 to 28,200-ish, that we should see a retest of this record high before a push up towards 32,000. And that looks like it will play out quite nicely, at least in the initial instance, with a retest of this 30,762, with NASDAQ futures sitting around this 30,500 level currently. In terms of where we would consider the rally has failed would be if it were to break below this band of support on a sustained basis. And then we'd probably be looking for a deeper pullback down towards 27,000 initially. For the Dow Jones, we didn't have quite the extent of the rally. It did rally by around 9.5% over 9 weeks. And then what you did see was a pullback. It broke the former record high, which was coming in around 50,500-ish, which was initial support, but it found that psychological support zone at 50,000 very, very solid, where buyers emerged and a prompt rebound out of there. Now, based on where Dow Jones futures are trading, we would expect to see a record high for the Dow Jones when the floor session opens tonight. And I think what that probably does, it gives the Dow Jones the green light to head up towards 52,000, 52,500-ish. And then we can take another look at how things are standing in terms of the levels which the Dow Jones would have to break below to signify that the uptrend has completed and a deeper pullback is underway. Then this is the band of support we'll be watching closely around 50,000. That's all for this week. Stay tuned for more market updates ahead.